Hey all, Occida here. Today, I'm bringing you part 3 of my username map series. We're going to be going over Chemical Plant, Lonely Tower, and Malevolent Crossing. But before we get started with this week's installment, I want to give a big thank you to each and all my subscribers for helping me to reach 500. No matter how small it may seem compared to other YouTubers, it's still a massive milestone for me that, in a matter of only 2 months, 500 people have found me, enjoyed my content, and wish for more. By the end of the month, hopefully I'll be getting to you guys a 500 subscriber special, so keep your eyes peeled. With all the prerequisites out of the way, let's get on with the video. So, let's get started with Chemical Plant. The first time I booted up this map, I was quite intrigued by the starting area. It was quite charming. The use of pipes was a little bit overwhelming, but overall it felt like a pretty standard looking map. There were plenty of nice details, like the spilled barrels on the ground, or the great use of the hazard checkers on the platforms in the middle section. The platforms made good use out of the setting, and despite Axiom having a similar setting for this map, it's a neat little twist with plenty more details. But there's no music. It's kind of a big flub if you want your map to be added to the map pool and you can't even figure out what tune the players will be jumping to. The map felt way out of the league of a standard easy map. No matter how simple the jumps may seem, the sheer number and the moderate complexity of them was rather detrimental to most of the newer player base. Aside from this, the map was somewhat pleasant to play. The jumps were varying and rather memorable, the difficulty was consistent and not annoying at all. It was kind of fun. Despite this, I really don't think this is the kind of gameplay that should be in the game, as a lot of it revolves around simple horizontal jumps, not a lot of change in verticality. In a practical sense, this map has a very nice attention to detail, and the use of platforms allows for some manner of shortcuts, which some of the better players can use. However, the onslaught of jumps bears no mercy for some of the newer players, and despite looking and functioning rather well, it doesn't seem to fit with Flood Escape 2 as a theme. The overall score I'd give to this map is 65 out of 100. With a heavy emphasis on platforming as opposed to escaping the flood, the map could really use some work when it comes to refining the matter of the jumps. So next, let's look at Lonely Tower. The look of this map is kind of rough around the edges, to say the least. Monotone walls and floors, lots of open space, and a fair bit of clipping of the parts. It's hard to even make a meter of if the platforms fit with the space of the game due to its kind of awkward feeling. And despite castle-based maps being a kind of new genre to the game, you haven't seen any beforehand, it's executed extremely poorly with music that hardly correlates. Even if the music is quite nice and catchy, a looping 8-bit track should be reserved for a map that would be, say, the core of Darkside facility, and not a big towering, tower. Playing through this map was an experience, to say the least, but it ended up almost feeling like a chore. Starting out with the long, winding walks around the outside of the castle, and up the long flights of stairs was a cheap way to feel nearly 12.5 seconds of gameplay each time I encountered such areas. Because of the sheer amount of walking, there was a great deal of difficulty spiking. The platforming wasn't even that rough, but the pacing was what caused many of my deaths. A quickly and spontaneously rising sea of lava around the course was the main obstacle here. And due to the map's camouflage nature, it was quite easy to miss where to go, especially after the third button. Overall, again, this map felt like more of a chore than an experience. So what else can I say about the practicality of the map that hasn't been said before? Lack of detail, gameplay that's punishing yet somehow boring. It's definitely not making it into the game. And the score for this map earned a 35 out of 100. I can understand if this were a test to publish onto the game's server to get a good feel for map creation, but from what I understand, this was pitched to me as a legitimate map that wanted to make it into the game, as opposed to a heartfelt manifestation of talent and effort. So, finally, we're going to move on to Malevolent Crossing, which, spoiler alert, is the map I've been most impressed by thus far in the series. So, for the design, the map was very impressive from the start. Good use of pipes and neon along the walls, easy to grasp layout, and a quite nice use of the platforms in the environment. The details of the map are, to put it bluntly, just astounding and amazing. Again, the platforms look very nice, both inside and outside, and they're placed in just the right spots to give the map an open feel, making it not empty, but not cramped. The laboratory theme was notably absent from the hard map pool for quite some time, and it definitely follows through with this theme very nicely. The music fits well, tying it all together with a somewhat eerie feel. The only gripe I personally have with this map is concerning the conventions with the name. Malevolent Crossing makes me think of a rickety bridge, maybe not quite a laboratory full of acid and water. Aside from a pair of moving platforms at the start, the gameplay is just amazing. The platforms are spaced perfectly well, the water rises at just the right rates, the map is extremely fun to play around with, and it has a nice even flow of difficulty. I'm going to keep the segment short and sweet because, what more do I need to say? It's an amazing, amazing feeling map. On the subject of practicality, the map nails it right on the head. Plenty of appreciative details, especially the door right before the exit. It was very nice. Good use of platforming that is easy to handle and gives plenty of ideas for shortcuts. A great overall feel. The last gripe I have about it, like some of the other maps today, it focuses a little too much on the parkour as opposed to the actual escaping of the flood. But in this map, I could hardly pay attention to that. It was just so amazing. So the score this map garners for itself is an astounding 91 out of 100. If the map didn't have a moving platform, I would be genuinely confused as to how this map didn't make it into the game. And considering that this map is one of the earliest submitted, it's best to treat it more like a paradigm of how to make an amazing map, and less of a top candidate making it into the game. And that'll wrap it up for episode 3. I'm getting so many submissions in this series, I'm likely going to alter how I handle it from now on. It's likely that I'm going to be posting 2 of these videos every week as opposed to just 1, considering that my list has grown considerably. It's almost at 50 now. In any case, thanks for watching. Any way you want to contact me will be in the description. If you want me to take a look at your map or 2, just send me a message. Keep in mind that your map needs to be whitelisted if you want me to put it in the video. Anyways, this has been Occida, and happy map making.